Hey guys, so today I'm out here in Payson and I'm looking for some red agate. It's real cool stuff and I can't wait to get some so I can take it home to polish it up. If you really like this type of stuff, be sure to consider hitting that subscribe button. It really helps out the channel. Alright, let's get to it. Alright, so I found quite a few cool looking rocks out here. This is exactly what I'm looking for. Some good old Payson red agate. Found another really neat looking agate right here. I'll have to polish that sometime too. But this is the stuff that I'm looking for right here. Got another piece right there, look at that. You can usually find this stuff scattered all over the ground. Real neat. Uh-oh, that's never good. Somebody must have been lunch. All right, I think I got enough. This should be good. Well, I just got done cutting open these beautiful Payson agates. I just couldn't decide which one I wanted to work on. They just are all so very beautiful. I've got various different slabs. If you'd like to see a video on how I cut these rocks open, be sure to leave a comment. And I might do a video for that if there's a demand for that. Really, the cutting part is just really loud and really simple, nothing much to it. But again, if you'd like to see a video on that, let me know. I would definitely do that for you guys. Alright, so after much decision, I think I'm going to go with this rock right here. This looks to be a nice little rock. It's pretty thin too. Almost went with this one, but it's got this little white stuff on the side here. So I think I'm going to save this for another day. I'll just polish this out sometime so I can eliminate these guys. This one probably. Oh, that one is beautiful though. Set that over here. And this is part of the chunk that I cut off. I don't think I can use it though. There's a lot of pitting in that. So we'll set this one aside as well. So I've narrowed it down to these two ones, but again, I think I'm really stuck on this one. This one's almost got like a bit of translucence to it. It's really beautiful. When I get these wet, I can show you. It really pops out a little bit better. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Wow. All right. Well, before I get carried away admiring my rocks and haven't even started this project yet, let's get started. So, what I do for making cabochons is maybe a little bit different than what most people do, especially for jewelry. They usually have a template that they'll use. They'll put it over this and trace out the oval shape or circle shape. I don't have those, so I just kind of eyeball it. What I am going to do is I'm going to draw out a rough shape of it. The first thing I like to do is make sure this is completely flat though, which surprisingly the saw cut it out pretty flat. I'm pretty impressed with that, so I don't really think I can skip that step actually, and I'll just draw on this. After I take the dobbing stick off, I will rebuff that out. This is the side though that needs some serious work, so this is the side I'm going to use to dome my rock shape with, so we don't have to worry too much about that. But the first thing I'm going to want to do is make out my shape. So how I go about doing that, it's really quite simple. I take a good old Sharpie marker, and let's hope this one actually works. And I'm going to draw an X. So I like to look at my rock and see where the most meat is going to be. So it looks like I can take this long axis here, or this axis here, but this is a little bit short because it's not really a perfect square. So let's look at it here a little bit more. I think I'm gonna go this way. Yeah, let's do this. We're committed now. So I'm gonna draw a straight line down. Right like that. And then I'm gonna take it this axis and draw another line this way. Straight down. So now I've got this X shape in my rock. And this is where it gets a little bit creative here. This is just going to help me draw out my circle, and hopefully my hands don't get in the way. This is going to be a little bit of a challenge here. I'm just basically connecting my X's together. Could probably make this bigger to use more meat here, but you can kind of see how it's starting to shape around. Alright, and that'll give me my rough shape that I need in order to be able to start knocking all this rock that I'm not going to use and get it prepped up for my cab. It doesn't have to be too precise. It may have to be precise. Like I said, there's tools, little stencils that you'll use if you are planning on doing any kind of jewelry work, especially with silver, and you want that rock to fit perfectly into whatever you're making. Sometimes I'll use some wire wrap and just wrap it around if I do use this stuff for making jewelry out of. I haven't done that in quite a while. It usually takes a lot of time to do, and I find myself spending more time actually working on my pottery than I do my jewelry these days, which is kind of funny. But seem to have a passion for both. Okay, so let's get this started. I got my resin board completely filled up. I got my safety goggles right here. Always want to wear safety goggles. Super important. Gonna get a little bit of water flow going. And get this puppy fired up. So this is probably one of the most time-consuming parts because we've got a lot of meat to knock off, but we want to get this kind of shape roughed out real quick. The only way to do that is to dive straight into it. Well, that's not good. That could be a problem down the road. So it's hard to tell, but there's a stress fracture that runs right along the side of this here. So I might just shave that off. This rock is notoriously brittle, so it makes it a little bit of a challenge to work with sometimes. It does like to crumble apart. There's usually a lot of pockets and cavities. If I don't knock that out now, what can happen later down the road is it could actually crack in half, and that would just ruin everything. But for now, I'm going to keep grinding away until I get this all rounded off. But I do need to address that little area there. You can definitely kind of see that crack right, hopefully there on the video. That goes right through there. It's a pretty good one. shut your water off. And there we go. Got the shape pretty well rounded out. I wound up grinding out that little crack that was in there. That is completely gone, so that shouldn't be a problem for us down the road when we progress further into this. I did alter my shape a little bit, so I had to improvise. So I decided to keep this side a little bit more meat, and then since I was removing this area. Yeah, looks pretty good. So what I gotta do now is just wait for this rock to dry, because then I'm gonna put on a little stick here with some epoxy that I'm gonna use as a daubing stick, and we'll get this thing all rounded off. Time to add this stick onto this rock. So I have your little tiny dowel that I use. I have this resin epoxy that I just mixed up. I'm gonna press that in there real good. Kind of make a funnel around it. At least that's what I would like. It doesn't always quite happen though. I'm just gonna press this right into there. Wow, I think that might be a little bit overkill, but hopefully it doesn't pop off, because that surface was a little bit on the smooth side. So now I just gotta wait for this to dry up and give it about maybe 10 minutes or so for cure time. It dries really quick. That's one thing I like about this particular epoxy, since I don't have the hot wax that you would normally use for this type of stuff. So we'll come back once it's dry and we'll move on to the next step of shaping this rock into shape. Well, it looks pretty dry right now. So let's get started on rounding this out. What I'm going to do first is I'm kind of going to bevel these edges out. And that kind of helps prevent any kind of cracking or splitting as you start rocking it down. After that, what I usually do is I'll go along the long axis first. Get that really nice and round. Nice and smooth too. Then I'm going to switch steps and I'm going to rock at the short axis. Get that nice and round and smooth. Then for the final step, I'll just go through and knock out the rest of the material that I don't want. Always have to be extra careful too, especially on skinnier rocks when you're creating a cabochon, because you can just burn this material away so quick. And once you burn it away, there's really no going back. And you'll have to improvise in some way. So let's get started. Gonna need a lot of water for this particular step. So I've got this reservoir completely maxed out. And we'll get this puppy turned on here. A little bit of water flow going. Nice and wet. Keeps all that dust from flying away and keeps things cool. Definitely want this diamond plate to be cool. So again, I'm just going to go around real quick. Alright, that looks good to me, nice and beveled. So now for the long axis, just remember to keep it rocking back and forth, because if you hold it in any one place, it's going to get flat in that area. You know, just have to spend more time buffing that out. You can see how it's starting to kind of round out. I've got some pits in there, so that's going to take a while to go, for that to go away. Okay, so I've made some progress on this. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to start rocking this rock all around. I don't want to hold it in any one place for any long period of time. I just want to keep it moving around as much as possible. That should knock out all those little hills that are still existing. Just keep rocking that rock around. And another thing you want to keep an eye on it is how thick it's getting. So you kind of want a nice even thickness all throughout the rock. Like right here I'm starting to get a little bit on the thin side, so I definitely want to keep away from that area and focus more on this area right over here. Wow, isn't that beautiful? Look at that. Oh, it's lovely. Just love those colors in this Payson Agate. It's looking really nice and rounded. Just keep going a little bit more. Alright, it's almost to the point now where you don't apply hardly any pressure at all. You kind of just let the rock do its thing, let it go where it wants to go, and you kind of just lightly help guide it into where it wants to go. You don't want it to get too out of control where it's going to fly out of your hand, but still very light pressure on it, and that'll knock out so much of it. This is just pretty much almost done right here. I'm ready to move on to the next step almost. I'm going to spend a little bit more time right here. You can see though there's some flatness here, so we want to knock that out still. Beautiful. Okay, so now all I got to do is change out my diamond disc here to a little bit higher grit to start really getting out these imperfections on this and move up through these steps for this machine to get it nice and polished. I'm going to skip these steps in this video though. I've got a couple other videos out there that explain the process of going through and really getting a nice shine. We'll come back when I get to the aluminum oxide step and I'll show you the final polishing steps I go through to finish this rock off. Alright, I'm going to get back to work here. Okay, so I've managed to get through all the smoothing stages and all I've got left is the final polishing. So what I'm going to use here is aluminum oxide, and I'm going to get this all nice and shined up. Man, this rock is just looking so beautiful. Oh, I love this. This is going to be one happy little rock when it gets finished. Look at that. Oh boy. So I've got it pre-laced here again with aluminum oxide. I always get a little bit carried away. I want to add a little bit of water to this though. So I'm just going to take a squirt bottle and wet the pad just a little bit. Some people like to do this dry, but I think it gives off just a little bit too much heat. So what I do is I'll rub this in a little bit. Get it just a little bit damp. I don't want it to be super wet. I want it to be wet enough where the rock's just going to slide right through. This doesn't need to be going too fast. And you can kind of feel it. Still has a little bit of stick to it, so I'm going to add just a little bit of water. A couple little drops here and there. There we go. Alright. Just quickly do a quick polish job on this. And this aluminum oxide really brings out that nice pop to it. It's going to really shine. And this is a good step also to just take your time. The longer you're at it, the more the shine shines. That's usually when it's about done. Whoa. Would you look at that? Whoa. That has got some deep red to it. Wow. I really like that. Well, I'm pretty happy with this rock. Look at that. The only thing is getting this bad boy off, because I really overdid it with that epoxy. I didn't think I had mixed it right, and oh boy. I'm gonna need something heavy duty to get that off. There's no way this thing's coming off in one piece. Oh, hey, it's actually... Wow. Been having some weird luck with this stuff lately. Alright. Probably should not have done that over this. So I got it to come off. I got this residue left here. I've switched back to my original diamond grit. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run this through it and get this all off. Another step I like to do is, now I've got these razor sharp edges here. I want to get them all uniformed. Now, unfortunately, it's going to be dull on the side, but if you're setting this into some kind of piece of jewelry, you're not going to see it anyway. You could always go through the steps again and just to polish the outside, but I do like to really bevel off these edges, get them nice and flat. I don't like them to be super sharp, because when it's super sharp, it's more prone to chipping and breaking. So you can kind of protect it by removing that. So I'm going to knock that out with these last couple steps here. I barely got enough water left in my reservoir. Actually, I don't have any water left at all, hardly. So we'll just borrow from my squirt bottle here, pour a little bit in, and that should be enough for this quick fix here. Definitely need more water than that coming out of this guy. Oh, now we've got too much. This isn't the Goldilocks water right here. Here we go. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is bevel this out. It's going to give me the edge to grip so I can actually get this thing off the machine. Very light though, don't want to add too much pressure. Okay, so I've got my edges nice and beveled out. All I've got to do now is get rid of this gunk on here. Just gonna basically slap it down. If you got gloves, be sure to use those. This is a quick way to burn off your fingernails if you're not too careful. It's a little tricky too because it likes to slide out. Well, while I was working on the original rock, I decided to work on the other one as I was progressing down the steps. And this is what it looks like. Isn't that beautiful? Wow. Look at those pinks, some oranges, even some reds. Boy, that sure is beautiful. It's got some imperfections in it, but I think that adds some wonderful character to it. Don't you think? How beautiful. Well, there it is. My Payson agates turned into cabochons. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope you learned something from it. If you did, be sure to hit that like button. It really helps out the channel. All right, guys. Till next time.